In this free Reinventing Leadership video series, I'm answering some of the biggest questions leaders ask and helping to solve some of the toughest leadership problems. All of the videos in this series are based on my book, Reinventing Leadership. And if you want a copy, I'll give you a digital copy for free. Details at the end of this video. I'm Brett Thomas, leadership trainer, mentor, and coach, and I've been helping leaders solve their biggest problems, influence and motivate their teams, and guide their organizations to success for more than 20 years. I've written 10 books on leadership and created the world's most effective leadership development method, which has been adopted by more than 2,000 companies. In this video in the series, I'll answer the question, which leadership style works best? In my book, Reinventing Leadership, I spend a whole chapter answering this question. It's chapter 3, titled The Leadership Rosetta Stone. I'm going to highlight some of the most important ideas from this chapter to help you answer this important question. The Rosetta Stone is an ancient Egyptian artifact on which the same information is inscribed in 3 different languages: Egyptian hieroglyphs, Demotic, and Greek. The discovery of the Rosetta Stone allowed researchers to decode the language of Egyptian hieroglyphs for the first time in history. So the term Rosetta Stone is used idiomatically to describe a critical key that unlocks something previously difficult or impossible to decipher. Nearly all leadership theory texts and books that claim to explain the best way to lead describe the writer's subjective ideas about which leadership tactics will work best with followers based upon their own assumptions about the world and the people being led. With rare exceptions, the author's inherent assumptions about the world and people and biases for which approaches should be used lined up with the 4 worldviews I had learned about from Ken Wilber, John Gebser, Robert Keegan, and the other developmental psychologists I'd studied or worked with. When we group the leadership theories, approaches, techniques, and tools by the worldview of their advocates, we see that in most cases, those methods do work well for followers who share that worldview. Integral theory provides us with an easy way, if you know what to look for, to identify follower worldviews. Therefore, if we know a follower's worldview, we'll know with a great deal of accuracy which leadership styles and approaches will be most resonant with them and that they'll feel drawn to, will trust, and will willingly follow. And importantly, followers will happily volunteer their discretionary effort to leaders who use their preferred leadership style. Next, I'm going to summarize the 4 common worldviews most relevant in organizational life in the developed world and briefly introduce the 4 universal leadership styles and show you how you must pair the right approach or style with the right follower worldview. The imperial worldview. The imperial worldview first emerged in society during the time of feudal kingdoms and is roughly equivalent to the Bronze Age and is still very much alive and well today. People with an imperial worldview see the world as made up of predators and prey, where the strongest and most cunning survive, gain power, and satisfy their wants. People with this worldview value personal protection, personal power, respect, dominance, and freedom from any behavioral constraints. They tend to be fiercely independent, living by their own rules, and are disinterested in conforming to many social norms, and are driven to break free from limits, achieve their goals, or impose their will. People with this worldview tend to believe the best way to think and behave is my way. People with an imperial worldview will always find the autocratic leadership style most credible and will always prefer to follow leaders who use this style. The traditional worldview. The traditional worldview initially emerged historically with the monotheistic religious traditions in the Roman Empire, and we see it starting with the Iron Age and continuing through the Middle Ages. People with this worldview see the world as an ordered existence under the control of a higher authority and governed by absolute truth. People with this worldview value order, security, stability, hierarchy, obedience, and strictly conforming to traditional roles. They tend to see the world in a concrete, literal, and dualistic manner, right versus wrong, good versus evil, saved and unsaved, and so on. People with this worldview tend to believe that there is only one right way to think and behave. People with a traditional worldview will always find the authority leadership style most credible and will always prefer to follow leaders who use this style. The modern worldview. The modern age emerged during the historical Western Enlightenment and the dawn of scientific thinking we associate with the Renaissance, which eventually led to the Industrial Age. People with this worldview tend to believe in the advancement of humankind through the application of the rational mind and its scientific, technological, and medical manifestations. They value success, achievement, excellence, status, science and reason, progress, and winning. From this viewpoint, life is to be met and mastered by finding the best way to act on its limitless opportunities. People with this worldview tend to believe that while there are many valid ways to think and behave, there is usually one best way. People with a modern worldview will always find the strategic leadership style most credible and will always prefer to follow leaders who use this style. The postmodern worldview. The postmodern worldview first emerged in the 1960s with the advent of computer technology, networking, and globalization, and we associate it with the information age. People with this worldview believe the world is a diverse web of interrelationships where life forms depend on each other for survival, and there's no single explanatory system or view of reality that can account for all the phenomena of life. Rather, there are many truths. This is also known as pluralism. People with this worldview value inclusivity, equality, diversity, sustainability, authenticity, personal growth, and making a difference. People with this worldview tend to believe that there are many valid ways to think and behave, but there is no real way to judge the superiority of one way or another. This is also called relativism. People with a postmodern worldview will always find the humanistic leadership style most credible and will always prefer to follow leaders who use this style. The 4 universal leadership styles. Autocratic leadership. Simple definition. The person with the most power leads via command and control. Approach. This style reflects a unilateral approach to leadership. When using this style, leaders impose their will through reputation, fear, and respect, tightly control information and choices, reward compliance, and punish disloyalty. This is the oldest of the styles, and it's the way you would expect a ruler, such as a king or dictator, to rule their subjects. This style is appreciated by people with imperial worldviews who value personal protection, personal power, respect, dominance, and freedom from any behavioral constraints, and who prefer to follow leaders who are perceived as being the strongest, the toughest and most dominant, and who will be able to protect them from or defeat their enemies. Authority leadership. This is also known as chain of command leadership, bureaucratic leadership, rule-based leadership, and some simply call it traditional leadership. Simple definition: the person with positional authority leads via chain of command. Approach. This style reflects a hierarchical approach to leadership. When using this style, leaders compel followers to dutifully comply with the established protocols, coordinate efforts, and meet requirements prescribed by authority, appreciated by people who hold traditional beliefs and place a high emphasis on what they perceive to be absolute truth coming from a higher authority, who value obedience, security, and strictly conforming to traditional roles, and who prefer to follow leaders who are perceived as having positional and/or moral authority. Strategic leadership. This style is also known as expert leadership. Some academics who are strongly biased toward the next style, humanistic, will refer to this style as transactional leadership. Simple definition: the person with the most expertise leads via strategic planning and aligned incentives. Approach. This style reflects a transactional approach to leadership. When using this style, leaders leverage aligned incentives to motivate teams to execute strategic plans in order to outperform competitors. Appreciated by people with a modern worldview who value success, achievement, excellence, status, science and reason, progress, and winning, and who seek opportunities to advance toward their individual goals, and who prefer to follow leaders who are perceived as having the most expertise and ability to achieve goals. Humanistic leadership. This is also known as transformational leadership, self-managed teams, collaborative leadership, and inclusive leadership. Simple definition: leadership is not vested in any one person. Rather, it emerges from the collective via inclusive dialogue and consensus in the service of the greater good. Approach. This style reflects what academics call a transformational approach to leadership. When using this style, leaders strive for equality and inclusiveness by inviting people's feelings and intuition via dialogue to arrive at consensus. This style attempts to draw out the human potential of their followers and work together collaboratively toward common goals, appreciated by people with a postmodern worldview who value inclusivity, equality, diversity, sustainability, authenticity, personal growth, and making a difference, and who prefer to follow leaders who are perceived as being inclusive, socially aware, sensitive to the well-being of others, and who strive for consensus, and who always treats others as equals. Pairing leadership styles with follower worldviews. Followers with an imperial worldview will find autocratic leadership credible. These followers look for a leader who is perceived to be powerful and who can protect them from and/or defeat their enemies. If you use any of the other three styles with a person with an imperial worldview, you run the risk of undermining your credibility with these types of followers. People with a traditional worldview will find the authority leadership style credible. These followers are looking for a leader who is perceived to have positional authority or moral authority, and the morals in this case will always be defined by traditional values and/or traditional religious beliefs. Again, if you use any of the other three styles with a person with a traditional worldview, you run the risk of undermining your credibility because they won't see you as a legitimate leader according to what they look for in a legitimate leader. People with a modern worldview will find the strategic leadership style most credible. These followers are looking for the leader to be the person with the most expertise, who is most likely to be able to help them achieve their goals. Again, if you use any of the other three styles with a person with a modern worldview, you run the risk of undermining your credibility, as then you wouldn't be exhibiting the qualities and the approaches that they associate with credible leaders and competent leadership. People with a postmodern worldview will find humanistic leadership credible. These followers are looking for an inclusive leader, or they might use the word conscious leader, who treats everyone as equals, encourages followers to share their perspectives and feelings, and who strives for consensus. Again, if you use any of the other three styles with a person with a postmodern worldview, you run the risk of undermining your credibility, as they may not see you as a legitimate leader according to what they're looking for and what they view as legitimate and competent leadership. So that's all the time we have for this short video. Thanks for watching. If you found this video valuable, please like and subscribe to my channel. And as I mentioned, I'm giving away a free digital copy of my book, Reinventing Leadership, and a free training where I whiteboard out on video all the main ideas in the book, and I explain in very precise detail what all the most successful leaders do, their 3 abilities and 9 skill sets, and I tell you exactly how to implement the world's most effective leadership skill building method. If you want to become a more influential, impactful, and successful leader, then definitely take a moment to click the link below this video or point your browser to reinventingleadership.com. I look forward to continuing this conversation in the free training on my website. So click the link and I'll see you shortly.